Have you ever wondered what really happened on the day between the cross and the resurrection? For many, Holy Saturday is just a quiet pause between two significant moments, Good Friday's sorrow and Easter Sunday's joy. Perhaps you've heard the story 100 times. Jesus was crucified, buried, and then rose again. But what about the in-between? What about that long, silent Saturday when heaven seemed to hold its breath? What if I told you that this day, this hidden day, is not just a waiting room between death and life? It is the battlefield where eternity shifted. Most people skip over Holy Saturday. Churches are quiet and songs are few. However, in the unseen realm, something extraordinary was unfolding behind the veil of silence. The King of Glory was moving. He wasn't just lying in a tomb. He was fulfilling prophecy, storming the gates of darkness, and unlocking ancient mysteries that trace back to the Garden of Eden. This wasn't just a day off from miracles. It was the secret doorway between the old and the new creation. What if I told you that Holy Saturday holds hidden truths that could change the way you perceive suffering, silence, and the seeming absence of God? This day reveals a kind of hope that most people never talk about, a hope that exists even in the grave, even in the stillness, even in the shadow of death. In this video, we will uncover the hidden truths about Holy Saturday, truths buried not just in the tomb, but also in the scriptures, in the spiritual realm, and in the heart of God. By the end of this video, you will understand why this day is one of the most powerful moments in all of redemptive history, and why your faith needs to recognize what happened during heaven's silence. Comment below on what Holy Saturday means to you, and most importantly, share this with someone who feels stuck between their Good Friday and their Resurrection Sunday. This message might be exactly what they need to keep hoping and believing, to understand that even in the silence, God is not done. There was a day when heaven made no sound, no voice came from the clouds, no angel appeared in dazzling brightness, and no earthquake shook the earth beneath. It was the day after the Lamb was slain, but before the stone was rolled away, Holy Saturday. This was the day when the body of Jesus lay in the tomb, wrapped in linen and still. The crowds had scattered, the disciples hid behind closed doors, and the temple stood quiet. The veil was already torn, but the world did not yet understand it was a day of silence. However, it was not the silence of abandonment. It was not the silence of defeat. It was the silence of a holy mystery unfolding in the deep. For even in the silence, God was near. Even when his voice did not thunder, his will did not sleep. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. This silence was not emptiness. It was reverence. It was the hush before the dawn of a new creation, the quiet hour when the king, though unseen, was still reigning. The women waited, their spices prepared, but untouched. The Sabbath law held their hands still, but their hearts ached with longing. Their eyes had seen him die. Their ears had heard his last breath, but now their world was wrapped in stillness and the tomb was sealed with stone. Yet even here, the scriptures whispered that God was not gone. Psalm 88, a cry from the depths, says, I am counted with them that go down into the pit. I am as a man that hath no strength. Thou hast laid me in the lowest pit in darkness, in the deeps. These words echoed in that silent tomb, not just about suffering, but also about nearness. The psalmist's voice spoke of Jesus long before he ever came, buried in the deep yet still held by the Father's hand. The silence of Holy Saturday was not a forgotten moment. It was part of the divine plan, as ancient as the prophets and as sacred as the Sabbath itself. God had rested once before on the seventh day of creation when all his work was finished. And now again he rested in the tomb, for the work of redemption was completed. On the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested. This Sabbath was different, yet it bore the same holy breath. The Son had finished his work, saying, It is finished. Now, he lay in the earth not as one defeated, but as one who had fulfilled all. The silence was sacred. The stillness was part of the story. In that hush, the old world waited while the new world, still unseen, was being born. The sun had set on death, but had not yet risen on resurrection. This space between was holy. It was a veil not yet lifted, but already torn. And even though the disciples could not feel his presence, he was not far from them. The shepherd had been struck, and the sheep were scattered, but he had already told them, After I am risen again, I will go before you into Galilee. His silence was not forgetfulness. His quiet was not distance. It was a waiting filled with promise, much like the stillness of the ark resting on Ararat, or the quiet after the flood when God remembered Noah.